Zeri is a champion that can change your life. Either you'll have so much fun with her unique kit that you'll never want to play another champion, or you'll get an injury from spamming her Q and never be able to play League again. It's a win-win. But today I have found a Grandmaster player who has taken Zeri into the jungle, having a super healthy jungle clear, extra long-range ganks that avoid wards, while also being a hyper carry 1 vs 9 champion that could win games. Our Grandmaster player today is named Focuz Zeri. His original name was Focuz, but name changed after discovering this strategy. This pick is so strong, watching this clip where a Kha'Zix gets invaded by an AD carry, having to flash away from the AD carry only to be followed and shut down for a 1000 gold bounty. It's just nice to see an assassin on the receiving end of this play. It's almost as satisfying as using our sponsor for today, Powerspike, a League of Legends companion app that's also recommended by our Grandmaster Zeri from this video. One of the tips he gave me for this video is that he actually uses a camp timer on his map to help him jungle, and this is one of the features of Powerspike. See when camps are spawning so you can know exactly when you need to be there, instead of relying on Riot's inaccurate version. But this is just one of Powerspike's features that I would recommend. Powerspike also takes care of all the boring stuff for you, so you can focus on gaming. In Champ Select, it imports the best runes to your client automatically. In Champ Select, you can also look at your teammates and see a quick summary. Maybe they're auto-filled or first timing a champion, letting you escape their feeding before the game starts. And let's not forget all the other great features like pro builds, stats analysis in-game so you can see where you need to improve, patch notes to catch up with the game, and a tab to find friends to play with. Powerspike has it all. Powerspike is completely free, download it now at the link in the description. Our player, Focuz, started playing League in Season 3, and although this isn't related to Zeri, he told me a story that I thought was important to mention. In Season 6, Focuz had now played League for a few years, and was grinding hard to climb, playing as much ranked as he could. Although he was climbing in ranked, closing in on Diamond, he started to have a big problem. He had terrible wrist pain actually caused by the gaming. He took a full year break, completely ignoring League, focusing on school and exercising to fix it. The next season he returned, immediately pushing past his peak, and now of course being Grandmaster with Zeri Jungle. Taking any kind of break can seem negative, but for him it actually helped him improve his life, which then let him return and climb without losing anything. Sometimes climbing is not all about playing League. But back to Zeri, in Season 12, Focuz was climbing playing meta champions, but he got bored of using the strongest picks to climb, as it didn't really feel like he was playing as himself. He was just choosing the best pick he could find and adapting to its style. But when Zeri was released on the live servers, Focuz tried her and knew it was the pick for him, instantly having a 15 kill game, loving the speed of the champion and how much she relies on your skill to land Q to do damage. And instead of picking AD carry, getting a feeding support and having no impact on the game, Focuz started to test her in the jungle. This is his favourite role and he doesn't want to give it up for a champion. Climbing higher and higher, his game plan improved until he could actually out-jungle the meta-abusing junglers. His game plan starts in loading screen. It's a weird place to start, but this is where his coach told him the game begins. For a risky pick like Zeri Jungle, planning is super important. In loading screen, he can see all the champions in the game and plan which lane to gank. Do they win a 2v2 top lane if it happens? If yes, then he can gank it and try and make it happen. If no, then he can make sure to track the enemy jungle and try and avoid them. Is your Karma or Zilean mid lane going to be your win condition to carry this game? No, so he wouldn't be camping that lane. It's quite likely that Zeri is the carry of this game, so farming well and picking up kills opens up your options to win. The true power of Zeri Jungle starts with his new jungle path, actually starting without a leash. This is rare for even the meta junglers. How can Zeri handle killing all of her camps alone? With a special fleet footwork rune page, Focuz is able to kite the camp, getting free health and also movement speed from the rune, so Zeri stays high HP and can kite the camp even easier. He starts without a leash to hide where he is. In high elo, enemy junglers can follow you through Fog of War, predicting your path and catching you at your weakest point. So since Zeri is squishy, Focuz really wants to avoid any surprises. For this same reason, he has a special jungle path, starting on red buff, kiting it back and forth to avoid as much damage as he can. Next, he jumps over to raptors, with his E making his auto attacks pierce through minions to do AoE damage, making this camp much easier to kill. Enemies as well as camps also take 500% damage from your actual auto attacks once they're below 35% health, and this is a fast way to finish off the camps and speed up your clear. Next, he goes on to Gromp, as this actually gets him to level 3 the quickest, ignoring his blue buff so he can look for opportunities on the map. Instead of clearing the high health blue buff, Zeri is now ready to immediately jump the wall to top or bot lane and help with a fight before the enemy jungler can arrive. This gank often gets him first blood, and he can still return to Crab and then blue to get the camps. If If there are no gank opportunities, then Zeri can instead finish blue and wolves, continuing to look for plays. Also using his W during his clear for the AoE damage, making sure to use it through a wall so that it expands and can then hit multiple enemies. Early game Zeri is incredibly strong at ganking because of the power of her E. She can immediately dash over a whole wall and arrive behind enemies, repeatedly slowing enemies using her red buff and her low cooldown long range Q, so even if they flash away she can often still catch and get the kill. Also having a fully stacked passive for another slow, Focuz weaves it in between Qs to keep enemies in range, or if needed like any AD carry, use it to kite. Her E is the main reason jungle Zeri works, with some incredible gank paths that start from areas that enemies do not normally ward, gliding right past the enemy's vision, and suddenly appearing in the lane to out-damage them. Zeri kind of cheats in ganks. She doesn't have to wait for a perfect gankable lane. Usually most junglers eventually have to show themselves in the gank, and this gives the enemy time to react and run away. But even if you ward all the usual spots against Zeri, she can still just appear behind you in your lane. Most enemies won't even know what she can do as a jungler. Focuz even uses his W while inside the wall to maximize the effectiveness of the gank. You can prepare this long skill shot slow while riding into lane. Focuz leaves it as late as possible to cast, so the enemies see it as late as possible, with the slow setting up Zeri's chase. This gank is also great for countering the enemy's plays. She can just pop out of Fog of War on top of a wall, since enemies can't have tracked your jungle clear and they also can't ward on top of the wall. Basing early on, Focuz gets boots and a sheen. This is a huge item for Zeri, being able to repeatedly proc the extra damage only using her Q whenever the cooldown is up. Also having this wall glide to get out of base even faster. Click right in this corner of the green patch and then hover in the middle of these two pillars. This will let you go maximum range out to base, saving time. Same with topside, you can use the indicator to cast it, or click on this little blue bottle, then just inside the corner of the third pillar on this wall to slide the maximum distance. Minimizing wasted time is vital in high elo, so this little trick helps him get back on the map faster. He even plans his next move while basing, looking at camps and lanes to figure out where he wants to go next, using his overlaid camp timers from Professor to do it, which he actually recommends everyone should have. Continuing to collect resources, because remember you are a carry, not just a jungler, Zeri looks for level 6. Level 6 is a big power spike for fighting, gaining a ton of damage and speed. She wants to fight right away. If enemies risk accepting a fight while you have ultimate ready, you can kite them out and have the damage to kill multiple people alone. His engage combo is jumping over the wall with E, using W for the slow, Alt for the burst damage, Q right click, and then spamming Q until the enemy dies. Since you're playing jungle, if you're in a risky spot and don't know if it's safe, you can use Zeri W for the vision that it gives in bushes, shooting it at a wall to expand the vision, shooting at maximum range so it also hits terrain to extend it further, so you can scout some really weird spots. Or you can also use it to cut off enemies' escapes for a kill. The first item Zeri picks up is Triforce. The damage is great, the speed is great, and so is the attack speed and the health. It's like Zeri was designed around this item. Then building into Blade of the Ruin King second, which again procs using her Q, only needing to hit one of the little pellets on her Q to proc the 8% max health damage. So you can just clip an enemy with this ability, and the damage will still be really high. This is a bit broken, you'll basically do more damage than other champions. The synergy with these items just puts her damage way over the top of what a champion should be able to do going into fights. This makes team fighting on Zeri actually simple, because if you follow one rule, you'll always be safe and contribute a ton. Since you are a super fast champion who wants to spam Q, your goal is to use ult early and then front to back team fight, hitting the champion in front of you, with your auto attack being able to be used while kiting and also chaining damage between enemies. She can easily kite the front target, hitting them and also hitting the enemies behind them at the same time. With Blade, the front line is cut down and killed very fast, letting you sprint past them to collect more kills now the enemies have fallen apart. One of the actual hardest things about Zeri is having self-control to not use E to jump over a wall and try and kill multiple people. Even the Grandmaster player himself told me that he struggles with this, so if you can stop yourself from taking a big risk, you can instead focus on the high DPS you have and use it in fights instead. It's so hard to judge if a jump is good or bad, because it's so easy for Zeri to get 1v1 picks in late game. A simple E over a wall onto one squishy carry in a side lane, Zeri will always win, and you can then use that to try and end the game or get a big advantage. So with your W vision and your map, tracking how many people are there is really important. Zeri at this point is no longer just an AD carry, able to go tank Zeri with a ton of armor, health, or magic resist. It's a really broken build because she's built to dive in with ult and kite enemies. But if she's also really tanky, she can play more aggressive and never die, while still out damaging other AD carries Zeri's thanks to her range. Since your damage is so high already, if the enemies have a fed assassin, Zeri can just get a tank item like Force of Nature and make them useless, invalidating any early game lead. Every game Focuz bans Rek'Sai because he can't kite out a point and click burst ultimate, but Zeri is really good into the rest of the current jungle meta because she can kite the low mobility bruisers really well. Usually he takes Smite Flash for extra mobility, but an extra tool he can go for is Exhaust. This is good against assassin junglers like Rengar and gives Zeri the early game fight advantage to stop her getting one shot and then falling behind. This lets her reach her tanky late game where the enemy falls off but she gets even stronger. Zeri Jungle is a really weird strategy, so rating it is going to be hard, but first here is the build. Starting Red Smite every game for the extra damage in 1v1s and also to reduce the enemy's damage and help Zeri survive. Buying Sheen and Berserker Greaves early on into the Triforce Blade combo, grabbing either Guardian Angel for safety against AD burst, Maw against AP, or Titanic Hydra is super fun if you want the health and also AoE damage to carry. Runan's Hurricane for full damage or Wit's End against AP are good options for attack speed, but for straight up tankiness, Force of Nature has incredible synergy with Titanic Hydra and is a great choice against burst. In conclusion, Zeri right now is really strong and could probably work in all 5 roles. By the way, let me know if you want an AP Zeri support video, because I have one. Nerfs are coming soon that will reduce the power of her in the jungle, but it won't kill the strategy according to the Grandmaster player. Comparing Zeri to the bruiser frontline junglers, she can beat them, but they're consistent picks with good CC that provide a lot for their team, as well as being easier to play than Zeri, who has many pitfalls that can get her really far behind. This pick has to go with the others that can either solo win or solo lose a game, and thus the rating can't be super high, but this still means the pick is viable in low and high elo as long as you can play it. Thanks again to Professor as well as Focuz for helping in this video. A link to his stream is in the description. Thanks so much for watching.